In this video, you are gonna learn how to process thousands of items in memory using Node.js Streams, respecting rate limits, and implementing throttling strategies in practice. You're gonna go through an experiment reading 500k items from a file and gradually post them to a web service that can only support 10 requests per second. Hello my friend, how have you been? Today, you're gonna make a heavy data processing task with me. Imagine that you want to process 500k items from a file and post them into a web service. Usually, web services implement security standards to prevent cyber attacks. One of the most common attacks is denial of service attacks. This attack occurs when a web service receives too many requests during a period of time, cannot handle them, and start blocking new connections. So developers usually implement a rate limiting strategy. The web service would only process 100 requests per second. If customers try requesting more than 100 requests per second, the web service will respond to exceeding requests with the too many requests 429 ATP response code. And after the period ends, it resets and starts processing requests again. Now, imagine that you want to read a big file as a Node.js stream. This means that Node.js can use full power to read, process, and send data as fast as possible. Well, on one side we have Node.js working blazing fast, processing more than 100k items per second, and on another, a web service that can only process 100 requests per second as default. That's what we're gonna work on today. You're gonna implement a string throttle mechanism, a strategy to make our data processing task respect the web service rate limit without losing data and still processing the 500k items on a data integration task. Well, get a drink and then let's begin. Before moving on, please don't forget to leave your like in this video and subscribe to this channel. Every week I publish new content here and I'm sure it would be helpful for you on your dev life. In case you want to go deeper into the Node.js Streams subject, I released a full content bundle where I teach all my secrets to use the most powerful Node.js feature to process big loads of data, the key to processing terabytes of data using JavaScript, and much more. The link is already in the video description. Take a look later. And every week I publish a new video in Portuguese or in English about JavaScript, career, and main tips to help you to conquer that dream job and make you a dev specialist in JavaScript. Consider joining our Telegram channel so I'll let you know all the hottest news in first hand. I got a question from a student who's studying in my Master in Node.js Streams training course. He asked about how he could control the data flow going out of a Node.js stream, that the processing speed was crashing third web APIs and he wanted to slow it down but didn't know how to do it. In this class, I prepared an experiment to implement it in practice with you. Data processing is something that we do often and I'm sure it could be useful for you. You're gonna build a REST API that receives JSON data from post requests and save them into an end.json file. This API will simulate some crazy experiments. It will only handle 10 requests per second as a rate limit strategy. In another project, we'll read a CSV file, parse it to JSON, implement a throttle function, and make sure we'll not send more than 10 items per second, respecting the web service API rate limiting. Are you ready for this? Then let's get started. Well, I'm using Node.js 19. Try using the same version as me so you won't have any environmental problem, okay? First of all, let's create our experiment, okay? So I'm gonna start by web API. And there, I'm gonna just initialize a Node.js project, okay? As I'm gonna try doing something simple here, I will install the express, okay, in 4.18 and body-parser to receive all the data as a JSON input, okay? Nice. Well, let's create a new file here called index And then on the package JSON, let's put it as type module. Okay. And let's modify this test to use node index. Okay. All right, let's try implementing the first and then we can keep going. Okay, I'm gonna import express. Oops, express from express. And I will create our app from express. I will define our port. It's gonna be 3000. And I'll create a post route here. I'm gonna use request and response, and then I will listen to a port, which is gonna be our port. And I'm gonna put here console.log example app listening, actually server running at port. Okay. And then let's just return response.send received, or just okay. Nice. So if we try running this code, I'm gonna run npm start. I'm gonna open a new tab here. And then I'm gonna use curl. So you should have curl installed on your machine if you're not on Linux. But if you're running Windows, I recommend you using WSUL. So you can use all the commands here without any error, okay? Perfect. So let's try creating a curl command first. So I'm gonna put this one here first so you can reuse it later, okay? So it's curl dash x post, okay, dash data, and I'm gonna put a JSON here. So it's gonna be name Erick, and then age 27. Nice. I'll define the content type as well on a header, okay? Content type, it's gonna be application JSON. And then we can show the URL. So it's localhost 3000. So I'm gonna copy it and paste it. Okay. Something gone wrong. So I'm missing some dash at the end in here also. Okay. Let's try again. And I just got okay here. However, if we put dash I, we can get more info. So by default, we have 200. It's an Express API, and the response is text HTML, okay? E-tag and other information, but our response is ready to go. Okay, perfect. Well, what else? Well, I'm gonna import a method from Node.js to write a string. Okay, so whenever I receive some requests, I'm gonna put it to this file. So I'm gonna say const output, and I'm gonna call this file as output nd.json, okay? nd.json is the string format for JSON files. All right, so now I'm gonna use the other module we installed. I think if I wrote just body-parser, it imports, right? Yes. So body-parser, it's there. So I'm gonna use app.use body-parser JSON. So it's gonna parse all the data that we use as JSON. So we can say here console.log received rec.body. Okay. If I try saving it and running our curl again, we can see that we just received the data as a JSON. And then you can see that it generates the file, but there's nothing there, okay? Because we haven't written data there. Okay, so to write data there, I'm gonna use write, okay? And I'm gonna parse it back to string. So request.body. And I will just break a line. So we have different, on each line of this file, different file. So we have an item per line. So I'm gonna restart it again and run our curl a few times. So I just ran 3 times. If I open the file, we can see that we have all the times I ran there, okay? Nice. So the API is almost there. But now I want to show this package. So the express rate limit is the module that we're gonna use, okay, to make our rate limit experiment. So here there are some information that we can use. We can actually copy paste this one. If you find this doc in the future and it's different, don't worry, copy from my code, okay? All right, so I'm gonna do right here. First of all, I'm gonna say that the window is the period, so it's every second, so sec, okay? And for each second, I will have only 10 requests. So here per second, and it's gonna be just 10. And I'll keep the other parameters as they put there, okay? Nice. Then we should just use as we did here. So I'm gonna save it again and I'm gonna run. Oops. Oh yeah, I didn't install it, right? So let's install it. So npm install express rate limit in 6.6 version, okay? It's important to install the same version as me so you won't have any breaking change and the API won't have any trouble, okay? Run again, start, and I'm gonna run the curl. But now notice that we have a rate limit here, more headers, response headers. And if I try running this, like 10 per second, I think if I try manually here, could be hard. But if I put here maybe 3, we could see more often the errors. So I'm gonna run a few times here. Oh, here I saw the problem. Too many requests, please try again. So here we can see the remaining is 0, the rate limit is 3, and it seems the rate limit strategy is working fine. Okay, so I think we are ready to go. I'm gonna keep here as 10, okay? And I'm gonna stop this API from now. Nice. Now we have some API to consume, and let's create another project. I'm gonna call it data integration. Ooh, very nice. So let's go to this data integration and do something similar. Let's initialize a Node.js project. So I'm here. I'm gonna create a folder here for src. I'm gonna create index inside it. See that I didn't create the src here because I have just a file, okay? When I have more files, I like to create a new file, a new folder, just to make things more organized. Same thing, let's put there as type module so we can work with ECMAScript modules. Okay, so here I'm gonna do something similar that we've done on the index. But now I'm gonna use a bash script to create all the files we want, okay? Well, first of all, I'm gonna use echo, and I will print out all the headers of a CSV file, okay? So it's gonna be just a few things, and I'm gonna say big CSV, okay? So echo is important to run on a Linux environment so you won't have any problem with the keywords I'm gonna show you today. All right, so I'm gonna run a for loop. So I in sequence from 1 to 5. I think we have to put this as an expression, okay? Do, and I'm gonna use node and e to evaluate, right? To execute some code. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna use process dot stdout dot write, okay, to generate our big file. Okay, the first line, it's gonna be the ID, right? So I'm gonna use this I, the number I have there. So I. What else? I'm gonna use some name just to mock data so we can move forward, okay? What else? Well, the description. The description could be maybe I text, okay? And the last one is age. So I as well, and a break line, okay? However, to make the things more interesting, I'm gonna repeat 1 with 5 zeros. So 5 zeros are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay. It's 100k items in this case. Nice. So it's a 100k. However, versus 5, right? Multiplied by 5, it's 500k item we expect in this CSV file. Okay, so I'm gonna redirect all this output to a CSV dot the same file we just created here, okay? And then I'm gonna put done at the end. Nice. So I'm gonna copy and paste to the data integration terminal here. So if we try inspecting this, we can see that we have 500k items plus the header, right? The header is here. If I click here on the VS Code, I can see all the data. However, the number disappeared in the name, right? I think something has gone wrong there. Oh, it's missing the number here. So it's I, not 1. Let's copy that paste again. So when I run this first line, it's gonna replace all the items we have there and then put it again. Oh, see, now it's everything set. If I go down, I can see 5, and that's it for now. So we have some data there. If I try counting how many items I'll have there, I can see 500k, okay? And that's it for now. Now, let's try reading this file, okay? So to read it as a stream, we're gonna use Nodejs readStream, okay? And then I'm gonna import pipeline as well from Node.js, okay, to start our pipeline. So it's gonna be the create readStream. The name of the file is big.csv. Actually, we could just put async function source for await const data of source and put a console.log on our data, okay? Let's see if we can read all the CSV data and print out on our console.log. So first of all, let's run our npm install, npm start. Oh, I didn't put an npm start there. So start, it's gonna be here, node src index.js. All right, npm start, and it print out as buffer. So let's just change it to string for now, but later we're gonna see all this data as a string without parsing it. So nice. I just read all the information, all the 500k items, and it seems fine. Perfect. Well, now that we have our CSV file, we should parse it to JSON, okay? So let's install a package here. It's gonna be csv-to-json in version 2. All right, let's import it, csv-to-json from csv-to-json. And now you're gonna see the output's a bit different. csv-to-json. So if I run again our npm start, you can see now there are JSON items there. You can see that's a bit it's a bit lower because a JSON item is bigger than a CSV, right? We have more characters to process there, but it's all fine. Okay, well, I want to do more things here to simulate how the real life is, all right? So I want to process this data. So I'm gonna create here const data processor. And when we are using Node.js Streams, we usually use a transform to actually create some processing data, right? So we can implement the transform. It's gonna be the chunk, encoding, and callback. And then I'm gonna set it as object mode. Okay, so we won't need to parse to string anymore. Nice. So what I want to do now, well, first of all, I'm gonna try inserting a real ID here. So from node crypto random UID. So I'm gonna have here const actually JSON data. I'll grab the chunk here, which is the piece of data. This time I'm gonna use toString, and I'm gonna try parsing this one. So data is gonna be JSON parse on our JSON data, and then I'm gonna inject an ID here, random UID. Okay, and then I'm gonna just return our callback with null and parse it again to string. Nice. Well, I'm gonna put this one right after our csv-to-json process. Okay, so I'm gonna save it and let's see how our results is gonna go. Just start, and now you can see as I'm using as object mode, I can actually remove the toString, but the data now is an individual line, right? For each JSON item that I have a different iteration for this while loop, this for loop, right? So you can see even without the toString is working fine. So I just put it as object mode and the magic just worked. Well, I want to do a bit more processing here. What if we try, we have this 3 here. What if we're trying creating more data there? So I'm gonna grab the now from performance. Oops, performance.now. Okay, and I'm gonna try replacing it, all the numbers I have, by this now. Okay, before parsing the data. Well, after doing it, let's see how it's gonna go there. So you can see now that we have longer descriptions, longer numbers here with more precision, and I think that's okay. You could actually try parsing, cleaning data before saying. I'm just putting some ideas on you that if you want to clean up data, you could do it on a transform step. Okay, nice. So our data processor is there, it's working fine. But I want to fix up this log right now. So let's create a new file here. I'll call it util, and I will create a function called log. Okay, so now every log that I will publish, it's gonna be always in the same line, so you can monitor how many items has been processed. Okay, to do it, we're gonna import the red line from node red line. Okay, and then I'm gonna use the red line cursor to process std out index 0, and then I'm gonna write the data to the process std out dot write, and then we can receive a message. Well, what this message or what this hacky function is gonna do. Let's check it out. I'm gonna export this function and import on our index file, okay? So I'm gonna import here log, so it's gonna import there. Just remember that we should put JS there, so it's gonna know what we are doing. And notice the difference now. Now I'm gonna try doing something better. So I'm gonna say processed, and I'm gonna create a counter here, okay? Let counter equals 0. And then I'm gonna increment this counter every time we interact in this loop and say items, okay? And I can check it out when it happens. So new date to ISO, new date to ISO string, okay? Just it for now. Let's check it out what happens. So I'm gonna run it again. I'm gonna just move a bit here so we can see it better. npm start, and check this out. We are changing values in the same line, and see how fast is it, right? 50k, 500k, fast, really fast. Nice. So our logging function is okay. I'm not sure if this log is so beautiful. I think without it, it's better. Yeah, it's better like this. All right. Now we should consume the web API, right? So let's go back to the util, and I'm gonna create a function called make request. Well, this one I'm gonna receive the data that we're gonna send to our web API, and then I'm gonna put the request, and I'm gonna use the global fetch, okay? I'm gonna go from a static string here because I don't want to lose time, okay? We could actually pass it as variable here, but it's just one URL. I don't want to lose time on this. So body is gonna be our data. Headers is gonna be content, type, application, JSON. Our method, well, the web API there is receiving post, right? Nice. Post. And then after running it, after processing this request, I will return the request.status. Because if we reach some error there, or if we reach the rate limit, it's gonna return 4 to 9. Remember this code? So if we can make some checkings. If the status is not 200, this means that we reached some error or some rate limit, and we should treat it, okay? Nice. Let's export it and go back to the data integration one. So from log, let's grab the make request. After the log, we know that we have the data as JSON already, right? And the data is already being processed. So as long as we have data available, we can actually send it. So I'm gonna just grab the status from our make request, and I'm gonna send the data there. However, if the status is not 200, this means that we reached some error, 500 is an error, or 429 is too many requests. We could actually throw an error. So, oops, reached rate limit. Stupid. And then we can say the status we just received. Well, just notice that if it's 500, it's not actually rate limit, but I'll keep this just to keep it simple, okay? All right. Well, let's try running it. I'm gonna actually start our web API one, npm start. The server is running, and then our data integration process. So let's see. Oh, it's missing on U2 and async here. All right, let's go back there and run again. And see, the web API received the data. However, we reached the rate limit and we got to 429. So now we should respect it. But just a matter of curiosity, let's go back to the web API and remove the limiter. So if I do this, I should restart the web API and try doing the same experiment. I'm gonna run and see it's processing just fine, okay? Thousands and thousands being processed. If I stop the processing right now, we could see that we have 15,000, right? And if we go to the file, we should have the same amount, okay? 15,000 items. Nice. So the request was aborted, but it's just fine for now. Okay, nice. Let's keep the rate limiting, okay, and restart it. And let's go back to implement now our throttling strategy. So our throttling should respect that we will send at most 10 requests per second. Nice. I'll close all those files, okay, because we are not gonna need them. And on our data integration project, I'm gonna create the throttle, okay? And I will just create the signature for now. So I'm gonna say export default throttle request. I think it's better. And I'm gonna extend the transform from Node.js. So it's not importing by itself. Let's import it manually. Node string and transform. Okay? It's because it's missing class. Nice. So I'm gonna implement the transform one, which is gonna receive the chunk, encode and callback. And I'm just call the callback right now. So null and chunk. Okay, just it for now. And I think we should actually implement a constructor to grab some information right there. Remember the object mode we use. So object mode, I think it's gonna be great. And the requests per second. Okay, I think those are good for us. So I'm gonna create those here. So the object mode, we actually should call the parent one. So object mode, and then I'm gonna use a new property to receive this data, and then I'm gonna create it as here as 0. Okay, request per second is already there. We have just the signature, so we can try using on our processing items. Nice. So let's go back to the index and let's import our throttle request. Okay, I'm gonna instantiate it. So I'm gonna use new, and I'm gonna say it's object mode true, and the request per second, well, how many requests we can use? Only 10. So I'm gonna use 10. And then we can put it on our pipeline. So just make sure it's gonna be after our data processor. Otherwise, it's gonna be different, the values. And this file actually is making the request. So we should wait from data there. Okay. Save it, make sure everything's working fine. So something is not working fine because we reached the whole rate limit, but the code is working, it seems, okay? It makes some progress there, but it's broken. Notice that we are facing some warnings here, right? Because we are using the fat API. So I'm gonna use here no warnings. So we won't see those warnings anymore, okay? Perfect. All right, so first of all, I will try implementing a counter, okay? If we reach those counter, we know that we have to have some sleep or some waiting function there. So I'm gonna call it internal counter. it's gonna be 0. And then on our transform function there, we're gonna increment this counter, okay? Whenever we have more data income, we're gonna call this one, okay? So if I'm gonna try doing reversely. If we have the internal counter that it's greater or equal than our request per second, this means that we should keep the process going on, right? So I'm gonna use push and chunk. And in this case, I won't tell anything here. This case, I'm just sending to the readable stream channel from a transform function, okay? Nice. Well, if, imagine, it's 10, so if it's 11 or 10, this means that we should do something else. So now here, I'm gonna just return callback, okay? And if we reach the limit here, this means that we should have some timeouts, okay? So I'm gonna use the set timeout and 1 second, okay? 1000 milliseconds. And now what we could have here, we could actually put it as 0 to reset our internal counter. And we can actually push the remaining chunk that was waiting there and finally call the callback so we can return the function, okay? So if we reach the 10 requests on that second, it's gonna wait for a second and then keep sending data. And then now I don't need this callback anymore. I will actually put this variable outside here as 1 second, so you know what this means. And I'm gonna put on a timeout, okay? Well, what do you think? Will this work? Let's check it out. I'm gonna save it and I'm gonna run it. Now you can see that's it's going slowly, right? Our API is working fine and we can see it's working. Well, what if I put here maybe a console.count on the timeout just to check it out how many times this was calling our functions. So timeout 1, timeout 2, timeout 3, and so on. Very nice, isn't it? Just to make sure, a last test for us. I'm gonna copy this big. I'll put it as 2, and I'm gonna just let 10 items there. Okay. On our big, I'm gonna read this 2 1. Okay. Now we have just 10 items. Okay. So imagine I can have only 2 requests per second. Let's see how it's gonna handle. So on the first one, we process 1 item, the 0 and the 1 maybe. After it, 3 items, and then 5, and then 9. I think this one, it's because it's our custom log here. Let's put it as a console.log. I think it's console.log. And then here we could have that new date to ISO string. Okay, so we can see when it was actually processed. Okay, let's try a last example, last experiment. Nice. So now we ran. Yeah, it's correct. We had only 1 timeout because we had just 2 pieces of data. The first 5 and the others 5. What if we put it as 10? Well, process them all. All right. Let's send the big one again. And with 10, now we can see it better, right? However, what if I put here 11? Well, 11 should break the API, right? So I'm gonna put it here 11 and let's see it. Ooh, it reached the rate limit. So yeah, it's working fine. I'll just comment this line so you can know what it's going on there. And I can comment this count as well. So let's just put it there, and we can see, let's actually roll back to the throttle to 10 and run it again, and we can see it's running 10 in 10 chunks. Nice, isn't it? So to summarize, here we use a throttle which implemented the transform function, and we actually was pushing data to the readable stream channel on the transform. So whenever I reached the limit, I was actually just sending a timeout, and then when the timeout is there, it's not calling the callback function. Because we are not calling the callback function, the stream just know that we are not producing any more data. So when the callback is triggered, it calls again the callback function, and the other remaining data is going to go there. Nice, isn't it? Well, we could try, like from our web API the last time, increase it to maybe, I don't know, 100. I'll put it 100 here and 100 here. Let's see how it's gonna go. Oops, I have just to reset it. And now we have 100. And it's gonna go faster and faster and faster, okay? So whenever we have a rate limiting, you can actually use some library, or you can implement by yourself, but just make sure you're handling streams rightly, okay? Just one thing I noticed, we can actually, instead of using push, we could actually just call the callback. I think it's gonna be even simpler. So here I'm gonna call null with the chunk, and here null with the chunk as well. It's gonna be similar, the same example, but we don't need to handle with push. Let's check this out. So I'm gonna run start again, and it's working fine as expected. Okay, I think it's gonna be easier. All right then. Node.js Streams are, in my opinion, the most powerful features ever in the runtime. For most of the problems people usually say we can't solve using JavaScript, Node.js Stream proves that we can. For those who were able to watch this class and implement the examples, I invite you to take a look at the Mastering Node.js Streams training course. There, I implement more useful use cases using Node.js Streams, and also I teach in depth the theory behind those features and how to choose the best strategy for each different problem. Please tell me here in the comment sections what ideas or questions just came out to your mind. Ufa, I hope you found this class useful, and don't forget to check the English content playlist here in the channel. I've been building a lot of new content, I'm sure you're gonna like it. Comment below what you wanna see in the next videos, and please send this video to all people at your work, your friends, and your study groups. I'm sure that it can inspire them as well. I hope this content has exceeded your expectations. Subscribe to this channel and enable the notifications so you can be notified about all new content I publish here. I'm Erick Wendel, and I'll see you in the next video. And gradually posting them to a web service that the web service will respond slowly here. ATP response code, and after the period, and after now imagine that you want to process 500,000 items on, and subscribe to the channel. Oh meu Deus do céu, quanta notificação. Consider joining our Telegram, so I will let you know useful, and don't